Senator Bernie Sanders, who joins us right now on the line. Senator, I appreciate you taking the time to join us, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, so as you know, Senator, there are always hit pieces out there, and the New York Post wrote an article yesterday. I didn't enjoy it very much, but they said Bernie Sanders was up there for 54 minutes yesterday, and not one time did he say vote for Kamala Harris, or not one time did he say, I support the Harris-Walz ticket. Can you just clarify and clear that up for those members of the media?
Total nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said many, many times, why do you think I'm here in Nevada?
Right.
I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Kamala Harris is our next president, Tim Walz is our next vice president, and make sure that we defeat Donald Trump, who is a pathological liar, somebody who does not believe in the tenets and the foundations of American democracy, somebody who does not believe the reality of climate change, and somebody who does not believe that women have a right to control their own bodies. So I was in Texas. I am in Nevada, going to be on a plane soon to go to Michigan to do everything that I can to make sure that Kamala Harris is elected as our next president.
Senator, what did you think about Liz Cheney yesterday? Obviously, her father, Dick Cheney, you've worked with Dick Cheney before, and Liz. What did you make of the fact that Liz Cheney showing the fortitude, I guess, for lack of a better term, to support Kamala Harris and speak with her yesterday?
Well, Liz Cheney is a very conservative Republican, and on virtually all of the issues, Liz Cheney and I strongly, strongly disagree. But I do respect her courage in understanding how dangerous it would be in terms of maintaining our democratic society if Donald Trump were to be elected president. And I respect the fact that she had the courage to come out and say, this is a dangerous man who should not get back into the White House.
So, Senator, we're on the same page. I don't want Donald Trump anywhere near the White House ever again as well. But I'm curious, what is your biggest fear if, in fact, Donald Trump wins in November? We both don't want that to happen. But if it does, as you know, it very well could happen. What is your biggest fear if Trump ever gets back into the White House?
Well, there are two things. Women in this country have struggled for decades in order to become first-class citizens, and they have to overcome so many hurdles. And the idea that Donald Trump takes pride in having appointed members to the Supreme Court who overturned Roe v. Wade, took away a woman's right to control her own body, that's a horrible situation, and that concerns me. And the second issue is, I don't have to tell the people of Nevada that the planet is warming. We're seeing what's going on in North Carolina. That is not an aberration. We're going to see more and more of that. Yeah. We have got to get a handle on climate change. Donald Trump, believe it or not, thinks that climate change is a hoax. That means we give up the fight against climate change, and that is a disservice to our kids and future generations.
Mm-hmm. Senator, you've spent most of your career helping, and working for the middle class and those that are struggling, living to paycheck. What would you say to those people out there that if they have money, they don't have a lot of it, yet they're still supporting Donald Trump? Because there are a lot of people in this country that don't have a lot of money, and as you know, Donald Trump had the biggest tax cuts for the top 1%. What would you say to those people out there that are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, and yet they're still supporting Donald Trump? What would you say to them, Senator?
Well, I would say that if you're concerned about the future of the working class, if you're concerned about affordable housing, Kamala Harris is your candidate. If you're a working class person and think that at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, when the richest people in this country have never had it so good, do you really think that billionaires need more tax breaks? And that is the major tenet of Donald Trump's economic program. Give more tax breaks to billionaires. He has a tariff program which will raise prices for many working families. He is not sympathetic to raising the minimum wage to a living wage, certainly not sympathetic to make it easier for workers to join unions. So I think if you're a working class person struggling today, the choice is pretty clear, and that's Kamala Harris for president.
Senator, you have a wonderful family. You've lived an honorable life. I'm just talking not only from the criminal side of it, just the behavior of Donald Trump. I mean, even the other day, he's talking about a purge. I'm sure you heard that. And it seems like 10 years ago, that would have been on the front page of every newspaper, and every news organization would be talking about. But today, Mr. Sanders, isn't it like the norm, like his behavior? Can you talk
about it?
Yeah.
That is, look, what you're saying is exactly right, and it's extremely important. Look, I have 4 kids, and many people who are listening are parents. And I don't care what your political views are. You're a conservative Republican, that's fine. But you raise your kids to be honest, even when it's difficult to tell the truth. You want your children to tell the truth. You want your children not to be bullies, to respect other people. Do we really want a president of the United States who everybody agrees is a pathological lie? Look, his former vice president, Mike Pence, who has worked side by side with Trump for 4 years, he is not supporting Donald Trump's efforts. Liz Cheney, a conservative Republican, understands how dangerous Trump would be. So no matter what your views are, you don't like what Kamala Harris stands for on this or that issue, fine. But I don't think, as a nation, it will serve us well to have Donald Trump back in the White House.
A couple more quick questions, Senator, and then we'll let you go. Just joining us on the line, Senator Bernie Sanders. You've worked with George W. Bush. You've worked with many Republicans out there that probably won't be voting for Donald Trump, but are you surprised that George W. Bush has not come forward and did what Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney have done in endorsing Kamala Harris? Do you think he will?
Well, I have no idea what former President Bush will do, but I think it does say something, as I mentioned a moment ago, that Mike Pence, as vice president, is not supporting him. And it's not just Liz Cheney or Dick Cheney. You have a lot of very conservative Republicans who disagree with me on every issue, but they understand that we are a democratic society, a society based on rules of law, and that cannot be undermined. And they fear, as I do, what the implications are if Donald Trump is reelected.
Senator, you've always done interviews, and we appreciate you being here, but you've been everywhere, from Fox News to, you've done interviews everywhere. Do you feel like Kamala Harris should do more interviews? And if so, do you think she should go on the Joe Rogan show? Should she do Fox News? I'm curious, Senator, to get your opinion on that.
Well, I'm not going to give her it. She has a campaign staff and she makes her own decisions. But I think getting out and talking to people as much as possible is a positive thing.
Sure. Public housing, my last question for you, Senator. Obviously, you're very passionate about this. I agree with Kamala Harris and her campaign as far as I believe it's a $25,000 tax credit to putting a down payment on a home, which, by the way, I think is great. Can you talk? You're very passionate about this issue, Senator. Can you talk a little bit more about it to the people that are listening?
Look, in Nevada, in Vermont, in Los Angeles, all over this country, we have a major, major housing crisis. And it's not just that we have over 600,000 people who are homeless. We have millions and millions of Americans who are paying 40, 50, 60% of their limited incomes on housing. And when you spend that much for housing, you don't have any money left over to do the other basic things that you've got to do. And Kamala Harris is absolutely correct. She is talking about the need to build 3 million units of affordable housing to help first-time homeowners buy the homes that they need, and that is a very, very important step. There are very few issues out there, to my mind, more important than the need to build affordable housing and lower the cost of housing in America.
Last quick question. You're in Nevada. I want you to speak to the Nevada voters. As you know, Senator, this is a swing state. It's going to play probably a big factor in who wins in November. Speak to those in Nevada and why they should vote for Kamala Harris. That's my last question for you, Senator.
Well, I think, first of all, Donald Trump, who is disrespectful of women's rights, should not be elected president. Donald Trump, who tried to instigated an insurrection to deny Joe Biden the right to enter the White House, having won the election. That's a reason not to vote for Trump. And I think in Kamala Harris, we have an alternative, somebody who is a vigorous advocate of women's rights, somebody who wants to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, somebody who believes that workers have a right to join unions, somebody who believes that we got to build housing in this country to lower the outrageous cost of housing, somebody who does not believe that we give tax breaks to billionaires. So I think the choice is quite clear, and we've got to do everything we can in this battleground state of Nevada to make sure that Kamala Harris is elected.
Senator, I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate what you've done throughout your career. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and please keep up the great work, sir, and we appreciate your time.
Well, you too. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, Senator. There you go. That's Senator Bernie Sanders joining us on Pushing the Limits. He said it himself, and I pretty much agree with everything he said. This is a man who has been in office for a very, very long time. He knows what he's doing. He understands what he's doing, and there was a hit piece in the New York Post saying, he never said to vote for Kamala Harris when he spoke yesterday for 54 minutes. He never said to vote for Harris Waltz. I think this interview is pretty clear. Bernie Sanders is not only supporting the Harris Waltz ticket, but he is making the case for all of you on why you can't allow Donald Trump to ever get back into the White House.